had snipers shooting over our heads.
No arms, no legs.
That's when I saw my first real dead American soldier.
Well, we just figured, oh, this is the end.
They said, we're going to try to attack Japan, and a lot of you fellows are going to be killed, he said, because they're nuts.
And they were kind of cocky. They said, we're here to finish the war.
I was amazed how one bomb could destroy so much in one shot.
The Citizen's Voice is proud to present a 70-year salute, a tribute to the local men and women who helped win World War II.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked.
And so you're in Coughlin High School, you know, like when the war starts, and then when Pearl Harbor happens. Yeah. Can you tell me what you remember about that?
Yeah, I remember that because the principal at the time, Mr. Super, called an assembly, everybody in the auditorium, and he announced that we were at war.
The war was going on at that time, and we began to discuss about the possibility of enlisting.
But you could volunteer for the draft. And if you volunteer for the draft, you will put back some elderly men that were going to be volunteered by the younger guys gone. So you said, yeah, well, we'll volunteer for the draft.
The war was raging on at that time.
Yes.
What made you guys want to go leave high school and go join the World War?
Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor had a lot to do with it.
Very young, and we're not knowledgeable really about the war. You know, at that age, we were more interested in our daily life. But then, when we got in the service, the whole attitude changed.
Let me tell you, I don't know what it is to be a teenager. This is important. At 17, you go into the service, you're a man overnight.
But when I first went in the service, they had me training infantry, how to kill people. I said, I prayed to God. I said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to hurt or kill anybody. Please put me someplace else. And I was out training with these other guys in infantry, and this man pointed right to me, come out of the building. I want that man there for the medical corps. And I looked. I said, me. He said, come here. And I went over and I said, who told you, I said, to pick me? He said, I don't know. And I said, well, I know. Because I had prayed about it, see?
At that time, everyone was enlisting, and we did. The four of us decided to go into the Navy at the same time.
Our family felt that we should do our part. In fact, I was married with one child, and these two had already been drafted. And my mother felt that, you know, I should go.
When I came home from Pearl Harbor, my father greeted me coming down the backyard. He said to me, I never thought I'd see you again.
During World War II, all the men wanted to serve so badly, and they were prone to volunteer as soon as they could.
So there was, you know, the patriotism of the people had that they wanted to get involved in the war. And part of that is also youthful enthusiasm, that these are 17, 18, 20, 19, 20-year-olds, and they want to do something. And obviously they see a tragedy befall America, and immediately they want to take up arms. In total, about 55,000 eventually from Luzerne County go into the military or the Navy.
And then we moved into France, and that's where we were assigned to the 9th Air Force to protect the airstrips. And the first night we pulled in position, the crowds come over and bombing and strafing and what have you. We used to call them Bed Check Charlie, but they come over every night.
So the German plane was firing on your ship as soon as you get to England.
As soon as we got to England, yeah.
That what a welcoming, huh?
Yeah.
So So you were getting shot at a lot, right?
Yeah.
And dodging bullets? Were you, was it scary?
No, you're scared all the time.
The Germans were on the mountains in front of us, and we were on the beach. So they were looking down our throat all the time. And you couldn't move a muscle without being shot at or fired at.
So you were always on the front lines, right?
Well, always in some place where the all night long you could hear the bang, bang, bang. You know, it was the shells were going all night long.
And what was your role in Anzio?
My role was
artilleryman. You said,
yeah,
right?
artilleryman. You were just a common labor to pick up the shell and put it in the gun. Now let me tell you, I was 112 pound or something when they took me into the service, or 120 pound, and the son of a bitch of a shell weighed 100 pounds itself. And you had, in the book, it says you got to have two guys pick it up and put it on a cradle. But in combat, you picked it up yourself and held it in your arm, and then you shoved it in the barrel while another guy come in with a ramrod.
What did you think about what the Germans were doing at that time? Just slaughtering people and taking over country.
A lot of that stuff too.
What did you think about what they were doing?
I thought, that made me more madder at them, you know. Yeah, you know, I figure that they're doing things they shouldn't be doing, you know what I mean? So we have to more so get after them, you know what I mean, and put them away.
When you look at World War II, unlike many wars where there is no clear-cut good guy and bad guy, in World War II, we could clearly see that we were fighting against an evil and against a country that wanted to really take over the world and perhaps enslave millions and millions of people. So for Americans to see this, they were clearly fighting for good.
So what were you told your mission was going to be on the invasion day?
Our mission was going to be, we were going to jump behind the lines to hold back the enemy, fighting off the guys coming in by boat, you know. We were supposed to like hold them off.
Driving through the English towns, people all knew what was coming up, and they were waving to us and wishing us luck and whatnot, you know. And then once we went into the marshalling area, we were under strict censorship. We couldn't leave the area because we were preparing. And on the night of June the 5th, the planes started to go over. The air was so heavy with planes, the throb, that everything rattled on the ground.
Yeah, we flew over Omaha Beach. You know, when we were in the planes, and them poor guys, boy, them was the ones that took the heat of the battle. You know, Omaha Beach, they really got the hell knocked out of them, you know, and we flew over them. Well, that was when we were going into Normandy. The two motors were shot out. Them machine guns were, it was awful. I don't know how we got out of it, but they hit us and we got out. Everybody jumped out safe.
And driving down that road, which was just recently fought over, you could still see parachutes hanging in the trees. And some spots you could see paratroopers still laying in the swamps.
You know, there was a bridge there. We crossed the bridge, and when we come on that bridge, well, the Germans were all around there. They were they were shooting, and that's when they captured us. You know, we ran right into their headquarters. Well, we just figured, oh, this is the end. You didn't know if they were going to shoot us or what, you know. But
I guess the letters must have stopped at one point and you got a telegram. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Can you tell me like what it said? What?
Well, the first one was saying that he was missing in action, and then later on got the telegram saying that he is a prisoner taken by the Germans, right? We were relieved, at least we knew where he was then.
Dear Madam, this is your call to active duty to the 3rd WAC Training Center, Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia.
I saw a girl one day in a Navy uniform, and when I saw that, that is what I wanted to be.
That's my brother.
Your brother, Jimmy?
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was killed in the Army.
You said before your brother's death caused you to join the Army?
Yeah, I thought I'd go in and finish what he left off at.
There was a tremendous amount of involvement in the war effort by women. At that time, we did not have women in combat, but the support services that they gave was just tremendous. In particular, in the military itself, many served as nurses.
Most of them were shot in the stomach, and they had colostomies. You know what that is, yeah. And they were only kids, but it was tough seeing them. So you tried to do what you could to make them happy. I wasn't there to fight the war, but I was helping the soldiers, rehabilitating.
And then November we went into our first action against the Germans.
Like direct
action firing at one another. Mm-hmm. That's when I saw my first real dead American soldier. Never forget that as long as I live.
Well, got around a bridge there, and the Germans tried to knock it out. Then we were told, I told my buddy, let's get the hell off of it. We got up. That's when the shell hit the bridge. Then when I woke up, I hollered to him if he's okay. He said, I think so. Then when we said, let's get off the bridge, that's when we felt we were wounded.
I'm just going to tell you, I worked in the operating room. Medically speaking, there's a word they call triage. I think you know what that is. We had 90 seconds to do a triage, or else we walked away. In the OR, I witnessed everything and anything that you can just imagine with war wounds. It wasn't pleasant.
Pop, where were you when they were getting killed out in the field and nobody wanted to go out and you volunteered to go out and get the wounded?
Oh yeah, we were in an open area and they couldn't get a medic to go across that field because they said it's too dangerous. Of course, this one captain, I know he had a lot of faith in me. He said, send Sam. I said, I'll go. And I went to cut across that field. While I was going across the field, a Jap plane came in, and he was strafing behind me. And they said I was moving so fast, and bullets couldn't even catch me.
From where you were telling me before, the Battle of the Bulge was your last battle, right?
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell me about that and what happened?
We had one hell of a battle, and that's when we lost, the A and B Company lost a hell of a lot of men and men killed. And that's when I got wounded. I was shot through the, picked up shrapnel through the, went through the, in here, and went into the one side of the arm and came out the other. I passed out because I bled so much. What do you call it? But I was operated on 3 times. What do you call it? Left me with a claw hand. I still have it.
What they always say to me, well, what's one of the worst things you ever seen? I said, a man had part of his arm blowed off, and he was running with his right arm. He was carrying part of his left arm, screaming, and I had to go tackle him to knock him down so I could put a tourniquet on and make stop bleeding. there's some things like in there. I can still remember holding people in my arms the same age as I am dying, and crying for their mother, you know, and that kind of breaks your heart, you know. And things like that, they'll stay with you forever, you know.
Thank God that we had control of the air at Anzio, that the Germans could only get through with their Air Force at night. They had a plane called Bed-Check Charlie, until they had finally invented radar in those days. And one of the shells finally caught up to Bed-Check Charlie and knocked him down. And you want to hear thousands of troops on Anzio Beach just cheering at night, because nobody could shoot them at night because you couldn't see them, you know.
It was terrible. That's all I could say. It was terrible. And I was there for 11 months. I didn't take a bath. I didn't take my pants off or my shoes, because, you know, you figure they're bombing and strafing, you know, you're not going to undress, because if they were shooting, you ought to be ready to go, like you're out of running, like for an air raid shelter and hide. So that's for 11 months. I was like like a pig, you know.
Lead me up until Liberation Day.
Well, we're taking one town at a time and everything. It's either day or night. You're always walking.
How do you take a town? What do you mean?
We take a town surrounded and everything, and some Germans give up. Then we take them prisoners, we send them back. Then some of them are dead hard. They don't give up, so we kill them.
What did you think about Hitler?
Oh, we had him boxed up. There was nothing he could do. And he turned on and he killed himself.
Well, as I told you, we were coming back from Valenciennes in the truck, and the people in the Belgian streets were cheering and screaming, and we were thrilled. Naturally, yeah.
But you said you didn't even know what they were cheering for, right?
Not at first, no. Until we heard them, and some, speaking English, were saying, "The war's over, the war's over." Then we knew.
Like I say, when the war ended, the guy came in. These two guys came in the Jeep, and
what'd they say?
They took us back to the American lines, you know. And
what was it like? What do you think about it now?
It was just thrilling. It was a relief.
So you said you were in a hospital in Atlantic City,
Atlantic
New Jersey,
City,
when
yes.
the war ended?
Yeah, when the war ended,
And what do you recall happening? A lot of celebration?
Oh, great. Big celebration on the boardwalk. How I met my wife in Atlantic City, I was operated on, and I snuck out. I went to the Virginia bar, and who walks in but her?
Your nurse.
Death. She looked at me, back. I'm not taking you going to bleed from that all night long, you know, because I was still wrapped up in what, and she walked me back to the hospital. Well, we started going out together. A few more months we got married.
And I understand you're a twin?
Yeah.
And what was your twin brother's name?
Peter.
Up until that point, you guys lived together, you worked together, went to the CCC together. Was that like the first time you guys were separated for your whole life?
Yeah. When we went to the Army, my job was field artillery.
And how about your brother?
He was in the tank outfit, that's all I know. I was proud of him because he's seen everything there was to see in the Army.
And he helped win the war.
Yeah.
The job was to repair airborne radar. the B-29s, when they took off from the islands, had a trip of 1,500 miles. From January to probably June, July, the regular B-29s were bombing the heck out of Japan. And sometime in July, I guess, this small composite group came across. And they were relatively green as far as repairing radar, but we assimilated them into our shops. And they were kind of cocky. They said, "We're here to finish the war." "What are you talking about? You're here to finish the war." "What do you mean?" "Well, our colonel said we're going to finish the war." "Well, what's he going to do?" "I don't know." It just so happens that small composite group was the one that was assigned to drop the atomic bomb.
We had a big meeting. We were going to get ready. They said, we're going to try to attack Japan, and a lot of you fellows are going to be killed, he said, because they're nuts. He said, you know, they'll kill themselves thinking they're going to go to heaven to be with the emperor. So a guy come busting in the door, and he said, "Hey, the war's over." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, they dropped a bomb, and the war's over." I said, "Come on, they dropped a bomb, and the war." "Yes, but Sam, you don't understand, it was a special type of bomb." And they said it destroyed so many people, they got afraid, so they surrendered.
So you were on the boat when the war ended? Like when
That was on the boat at that time. We were celebrating on the boat.
You celebrated. What was the celebration on, like the boat when it was announced the war's over? What was the celebration like?
The radio was on. We heard it on the radio. You know what I mean?
And a lot of celebrations, partying.
We had a celebration on board ship, hollering and screaming and yelling and drinking and dancing with each other and all that kind of stuff.
So you hear the bombs are dropped in big, massive atomic bombs. You probably didn't think of anything like that existed in the world at the time, right?
No, we were when that happened, we were in Manila, and I thank Harry Truman for saving my life, because we were so lucky going all the way through the islands, and we're ready to make this big push. We're getting all new equipment, all new equipment, and all new supplies, and ready to make the big landing. And boy, I said, a lot of averages, I said, we don't maybe would have made it, but I thank Harry for saving my life.
Yeah, it's right into Hiroshima. That's
okay, so then
we left Sasebo, we went into Hiroshima.
And tell me every single thing you remember about entering that city.
Basically, there wasn't much left at all. Like I said, you could have stood on one side of that city and looked for miles and miles, nothing, but maybe a wall of a house or anything that was standing. But I was amazed. One bomb could destroy so much in one shot. You can never forget what the devastation you would say that was there, what you actually seen. But then the way I says, how would the old saying be, better them than me or something? Yeah.
They faced the two biggest challenges certainly of the 20th century, and perhaps with the exception of the Civil War, our whole country's history. They faced the economic collapse of our country in the Great Depression. We had 25% of the population unemployed, and they faced the greatest war that humanity has ever seen, and they handled both of them pretty well.
Well, I will say this much: it was as a 91-year-old, almost 91. I see the world differently than I did when I was 19. If I was 19 and would go back 19, I wanted to go to war. I didn't want to miss out on it. I was afraid that the war would end and I wouldn't get into it. So there's a difference as the older you get, the more you see. The war is horrible, and to see the way the bodies are treated, and young men on either side. It's a terrible thing, but it was war and it had to be done, and my generation did the job.
At least in modern times, you know, your generation is called the greatest generation. Did you know at the time of the mark you guys made on history at the time, or did it take some years to really appreciate it?
I've often said this story, that I enjoyed my youth tremendously. We lived in hard times, depression, but almost everybody was in the same position. And I grew up, and I consider it the happiest years of my life, outside of my marriage, my wife, and my family. And we grew up in that period. And then we served our country honorably. And then we came back, and we celebrated for several months or so. And then we get on with our lives. We begin to get married, go to school, get jobs, and so on and so forth. And I think that was one of the greatest times in our history.
If it wasn't for the greatest generation, you and I might have been able to, if we were alive, you and I would be speaking German, wouldn't we? Hello? I mean, that's how I look at it. But the greatest generation, as Tom Brokaw said it, all right, maybe it is. I guess if it wasn't for World War II, where the hell would we be today, you know?
Well, I tell you, I agree with him. I think we were the great generation. Because like everybody was like in the same boat, you know. You didn't have something better than the next guy. Everybody had to just pitch in and stay together, that's all.
That time went by so fast, knowing what we went through with the war. And sometimes I think back when the people are saying, boy, World War II, you were in that war, you know that. And, when you're in there, you did it because you wanted to do it. It was an honor to be there. You were in it fighting the enemy.
How does it feel to be, you know, all these years later, among the dwindling amount of World War II veterans still around to tell the story?
I checked the obituaries first. No, it is right. Let's face it. We're up in age, and time is fleeing.
Well, veterans, after nearly a year, our journey is almost complete. It was a pleasure to meet you and your families, and it was my honor to be able to tell your stories. On behalf of a grateful nation, we will always salute you. Thank you.